Welcome into the Dynasty rookie profile for Xavier Worthy out of Texas, a 2024 draft prospect at the receiver position. And this is the first video of this series where in each video, we're looking at one player diving deep into their numbers, the advanced stats. I looked at the film. We're talking about things I like, things I don't like. And all of this is to give yourself better information when it comes to your Dynasty rookie drafts. When you get to the end of the first round, to find the guys in the second, the third, the fourth round, the Puka Nakuas, the Tank Dells. Hopefully we can reveal some of these players as we progress into this series. And again, we're looking at draft prospects from the 2024 draft. And today we're looking at Xavier Worthy, someone that I'm really, really high on, that I really, really enjoyed the tape. There's some numbers that I really like that I'm going to show you here in just a second. Drop us a like and a subscribe. We're going to be putting out a lot of these, specifically running backs and wide receivers, maybe a couple tight ends, maybe quarterbacks. We'll see. Quarterbacks are always a little bit tougher to evaluate. Kind of have to trust the NFL and where they go in the NFL draft. But it is currently February 16th, so we're still a couple weeks away from the combine starting. Obviously, the draft is several months away, so now is the best time to start getting acclimated to some of these guys and figuring out the guys that you like and the guys that you don't like. So, again, today we are looking at Xavier Worthy. I'm going to share with you just a little document that I have here. There we go. Let me see if I can move this around here. I'm going to move myself down here. And you know what? I'm going to remove the overlay here to get a better look at Xavier Worthy and his profile that I have up here for you. So again, this is a wide receiver out of Texas. There's a lot of players that are coming out of Texas this year. There's a tight end, probably the tight end 2 in the draft, maybe the RB1 in the draft. We have 2 wide receivers, maybe 3 wide receivers, but definitely 2 drafted in the first couple rounds. And of course, the quarterback Quinn Ewers went back to college, but he would have been drafted in this draft as well. So we're breaking down Xavier Worthy and some things that I like and look and don't like. So 6'1", 172. So right off the bat, good size in terms of the height, but the 172, it's always going to be a little alarming. Now, does weight mean as much as it did 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago? No, it does not. We've seen several players now who have been under 180 pounds, under 190 pounds, under 200 pounds, succeed in the NFL at the wide receiver position. The NFL has changed. It's become less of a man coverage type of coverages, and it's more of a zone coverage. Defenses are playing zone coverage at 60, 70, 75% of the time. And when you play in zone coverages, there's less press coverage. So you're going to see a lot of people, they're going to knock his size a little bit. I'm not too worried about it. A guy like Tank Dell, that was one of his big things. The reason why he fell to the third round was because he was 165 pounds or whatever he weighed in at. So there you see his height and weight. We'll get into that a little bit more later. His 2023 stats, 75 catches, 1,000 yards, and 5 touchdowns. He's projected right now to be a mid-second round pick. I have seen as high as an early second round pick to the Chargers, I believe, which is the 5th pick in the second round. So we'll see. We'll see where he goes. I think he's going to test well at the combine, so that may increase his draft stock just a little bit. Some advanced stats here. Yards per route run, 2.21. That's an okay number. It's not the best. Yards per route run is a pretty good indicator of successful wide receivers. So if you look at the top wide receivers, whether it's NFL or college, but specifically if you look at the NFL and yards per route run, the CD Lambs, the Justin Jeffersons, the Jamar Chases, they're always at the top of yards per route run. So 2.21, it's good. It's not great. Ideally, I like to see closer to 2.9-ish. If you can get to that number, then that's a good yards per route run, in my opinion. You see his ADOT there, 13.7 ADOT. That's fine. Nothing wrong with that. That's just kind of right in the middle, to be honest, for a college wide receiver. Now, I will say his ADOT, this is over his 3 years at Texas. His ADOT the last year in 2023 was at 10.3. So they were using him a little bit more behind the line of scrimmage and screen passes and things like that, which you like to see. You don't like to see just deep threats. You don't like to just see behind the line of scrimmage stuff. You like to see middle. You like to see a balance, essentially. His drop rate at 7.1%, slightly high. Now, this is for his career, and something I will note is that in 2022, he had a drop rate of 10.6%, which is too high. You don't want to see that in college football. Receivers, historically, if you go back and look, and I went back and charted basically the major fantasy receivers over the last 15 years since 2010, essentially. Very few of them had a drop rate of over 10% in college. So ideally, you want to be under that 7% mark, in my opinion, 7-8% mark. His career is 7.1. It was high in 2022 at 10.6. And he was playing with a broken hand, apparently, for like half the season. That's the reports came out at the end of the college season that he was playing with a broken hand. And it kind of makes sense because you look at his other 2 years, 2021 and 2023, he had in 2021 4.6% drop rate, and last year 6.3%. So if you kind of average those out, you're looking at about a 5% drop rate. So 2022 was a little bit of an anomaly. So that broken hand theory does make sense. Yards after catch per reception, 7.3. He's good after the catch. And again, we'll get into a little bit of what I saw on the film. These are just the numbers. Contested catch rate at 34.1 is not so great. We want to see that around 50% contested catch rate percentage, but you can't have it all with these guys. No one's a perfect prospect, right? Not even Marvin Harrison Jr. He's as close to a perfect prospect as you can get. So, contested catch rate, you'd like to see it a little bit higher for Xavier Worthy. And I think the highest he had in a season is 50% his first year in college. But overall, over his 3 years, we've seen it about 34.1. And then something I really love and something that I'm looking more into, guys, is CTT percentage. That is contested target percentage. How many of the targets that he had, catchable targets, were contested? And to me, if I see this number below 15%, my antennas go up. Why do you say? Well, because that means that this person's getting open. Usually they're very good route runners. They have good breaks in their routes. They know how to get open. They know how to find the hole in the zone. If I see this number at below 15%, you see it here for Xavier Worthy at 13%, my antennas go up. I like to see that. I don't like to see that number in the 20, 25% because that means you're not creating separation. Now, if you look at individual games, it can go back and forth, right? If you catch 5 passes behind the line of scrimmage, it's impossible to have a contested target behind the line of scrimmage. It's virtually impossible, right? So you have to keep that in mind. You have to see how the type of passes that they're getting. But this is over the course of his entire college career. And you would imagine over the course of his entire college career that we're getting a pretty accurate number, right? We're talking about over 300 targets here. So they're not all behind the line of scrimmage. So I love to see this number, something I love about him. We see the snaps by position. He lined up out wide 66% of the time, in the slot 34% of the time. Now, people are going to say, he's too small, he's a slot receiver. And again, I just don't think that's the case. One, the NFL is different. We already talked about that. A lot less press man coverage is being played in the NFL because teams don't want to get beat deep. Two, if you have good get off at the line of scrimmage, Antonio Brown made a Hall of Fame career potentially out of this. Getting off at the line of scrimmage, that mitigates a lot of press man coverage. Cornerbacks would be very afraid if you have really good get off. If you get off that line of scrimmage very, very strongly, very quickly, you have a quick burst, they're going to think twice about playing press man on you. So I think he can play on the outside. I think he can play in the slot. I think he can be kind of like a Tank Dell, a small receiver that he doesn't play small. He's aggressive. Again, I'll get into a little bit more on what I see on the tape. Real quick, one last thing I want to highlight here is the career dominator stat. Now, this is another thing that I'm looking more into, guys. We need to see the percentage of the passing for receivers, the percentage of the passing offense. How much is going through them? And we look at his career dominator at Texas, 32% of the passing offense at Texas, yards and touchdowns, receiving yards and touchdowns, passing yards and touchdowns, went through Xavier Worthy. A third of Texas's passing offense went through Xavier Worthy. That is a really good number. Again, I went back and looked at every receiver, every good receiver over the last 15 years, about since 2010. And you look at them, guys, and the average number for career dominator for these receivers, for these fantasy relevant receivers, their average number, just give me 1 second. I thought I had it up, but I don't. Their average number is 30%. Very few receivers have a career dominator in college of under 25%. And the average number for them is 30%. And the average number for players that are putting up monster seasons, top 5, top 7 wide receiver fantasy seasons, they're at an average of 31%. So we love to see this career dominator north of 25%. And we get that with Xavier Worthy. His single season high was actually 38% his first year in college, which is another thing I'm going to mention. His breakout age of 18 is impressive. Again, go back and look. I went back and looked. Every fantasy relevant receiver, and by fantasy relevant, the bar is pretty low. 2 seasons of being a top 36 receiver. That's all you needed. 2 seasons. There's been 78 receivers since 2010 that have had 2 seasons of top 36 receiver or more. Not a lot, right? Only 78 receivers. Only 8 of them, guys. Only 8 had a breakout age older than 20. Only 8 of them had a breakout age older than 20. We love to see. Now, it doesn't just discount you if you have a breakout age over 20 years old, and it doesn't mean you're going to be good if you have a breakout age under 20 years old. But it gives you a check mark, right? There's things that we need. We're trying to put the puzzle pieces together. We're trying to give ourselves the most information in order to make the best decision when it comes to choosing these guys in Dynasty. You know, the first 5, 6, 7 picks, they're kind of set. We know who's going to go. Once you get to the late first, second, third, fourth round, it's crapshoots, right? And, you know, when you're playing poker, when you're playing blackjack, you do everything you can in order to give yourself the best chance. Are you going to hit every time? No. But are you giving yourself the best chance to win? That's what we're looking for here. We're looking for pieces of the puzzle. Breakout age is something that is kind of important to me. I like seeing guys break out at a young age. An 18-year-old, first year in college, going up against 20, 21, 22-year-old defensive backs, and he's dominating them. He's the best player on the team. So I love that. Now, one more thing before I get into a little bit what I saw on tape. A couple of things I didn't like, because I have to be fair. I can't just say I love this player and there's nothing wrong with him. One, I already mentioned it. I'd like to see a little bit better of a contested catch rate. But again, if you're only going to be contested on 13% of your targets, not a huge deal. One thing that's maybe the most concerning, besides his size, which we can't just ignore, just because Tank Dell was good, one receiver under 170 pounds was good, doesn't mean all of them can be good, right? There's a reason why there's not many of those receivers. We 200 is the ideal weight. One thing that did concern me a little bit about Xavier Worthy is that his rookie year, his first year, was probably his most impressive and best year. And his second year, he definitely went down a notch. This last year in 2023, he kind of got closer to that his rookie year, his freshman year, his first year at college. But generally, you like to see the arrow go pointing up, right? Good, better, best, right? And for Xavier Worthy, it was like first year was here, second year it was here, and then third year was better than the second year, but maybe not as good as the first year, in my opinion. I know the numbers are slightly better, but just in terms of the efficiency. So that's a little concerning. I'm not going to lie. I like to see players get better, but man, I love Xavier Worthy. And if I call him James Worthy, I'm sorry. I just have James Worthy in my head sometimes when as a basketball player. So anyways, I love Xavier Worthy. I absolutely love this guy. I hope he gets recognized. Now, his speed is something that's one of his strengths. He's rumored to be the fastest receiver in the draft. I've seen a projection of 4.29, which would be absolutely amazing. So he's fast. The guy can get open. And when I watched him on film, I watched several games of him. And the biggest thing I notice is every time this guy catches the ball, there's no one within 5 yards of him. No one within 5 yards of him, which means his route running. And I really, really love really good route runners. I know everyone has their different preference in receivers and who they like. Me personally, I like really good route running. I think that translates best to the NFL. Contested catches, not as much. You like to see players be able to do it, but these explosive, amazing contested catches, one-handed catches don't translate as much to me as route running. So I think he's one of the best route runners in this draft, maybe outside of, the top few guys like Marvin Harrison Jr. and Malik Neighbors and Rome Odunze. He's just super fluid. He's explosive. His burst is amazing off the line of scrimmage. Again, really, really fast. He ran 100 meters in high school, and he's just a super fast guy. his breaks in, his cuts out of routes at the top of routes is amazing, which is, I believe, one of the reasons why he gets so open, because they're so violent. If you round your cuts, you round your routes, do your route breaks, it gives the defender more time to react to that, right? If you're in and out of your routes super quickly, defenders get lost, and that's why they're always seemingly 5 yards away from the ball whenever he catches it. So I love his versatility. He lined up on the outside, lined up in the slot. He was dominant in both. And again, can he be better? Sure, he could be better. The biggest concern to me is the drop off in production in 2022. So again, was that his broken hand? Potentially. Overall, though, I love Xavier Worthy. And one thing, I don't want to just discredit people. If you go on any draft profile, you type in Xavier Worthy draft profile, what's the number one negative you see? Look it up right now and tell me, right? You can pause this video right now, go up and look at 3 different draft profiles of Xavier Worthy. What's like the number 1 or number 2 thing you see? It's going to be his size. They're going to say, he's too small. And to me, like, I don't want to just, if a player has everything else except for the size, I'm not just going to discount them, right? We've seen it last year, again, with Tank Dell. We've seen it in other sports, Steph Curry in basketball, right? The game has changed, guys. It has evolved. We're not looking for the 6'5" receiver that can beat press man coverage. Do I want those type of receivers? Sure. But does that mean that these smaller receivers, they can't survive? Absolutely not. So Xavier Worthy, I love the guy. I hope he gets the draft capital. I really do. He's going to be a guy I'm looking at in my Dynasty rookie drafts. Potentially if I have a late first pick, definitely in the early second round pick. It just depends where he goes as well. Like if he lands on the Chargers, for example, in the with their the 5th pick of the second round, I'm going to think about taking him with the first round pick. So to me, as of right now, where we stand, it's February 16th. I kind of have him right around my wide receiver 5 or 6 in this draft class. So, obviously Marvin Harrison, Malik Neighbors, Rome Odunze, Brian Thomas, and Troy Franklin are up there. I like Troy Franklin as my 4th. And then it's I'm kind of back and forth between Brian Thomas and Xavier Worthy, who I like more. So a lot of it's going to depend on draft capital and what team they go to. But overall, I love this player. Hopefully this helps you guys. Hopefully it gives you a little bit of idea, opens your eyes a little bit. We're not going to be talking about the Marvin Harrison Juniors. We're going to be talking about the guys that are going to be going in the late first, second round, third round, maybe some gems that I like that are projected to go in the 4th or 5th round in the NFL draft. This is where we make our money, right? This is where Dynasty players win the championships. Is if you hit on just one 3rd round pick, let's say you have a few of them, you hit on 1/3 or 1/4 or even one late 2nd round pick, it does so much for your Dynasty team. So Xavier Worthy, guys, look him up, go watch him, look at some of the stats. Again, things I love about him. The guy's always open. Every time you watch his film, he's always open. I love that he broke out at the age of 18. By the way, I don't know if I explained it. Breakout age means, do you have a 20% or more of your team's passing offense for receivers? 20% or more of the team's passing offense. At what age did you do that? And I love that he was 18 years old doing that. I love that he has a career dominator of 32%. So overall, one of my favorite receivers in this draft class. I'm going to be targeting him. So again, hopefully this helps you guys. Like and subscribe. We're going to be coming out with more of these for more receivers and more running backs. And I appreciate you guys. We'll catch you guys in the next video.